Perfect. So let's start our webinar. So hello, everyone from around the world, and welcome to our WPO webinar today that is tackling a very important topic, the true role of packaging in saving food waste and loss. And we have with us today our esteemed, experienced WPO Vice President for Sustainability and Save the Food, Narida Calton from Australia, and Narida as well is the director of the Australian Institute of Packaging, AIP. So our agenda today, I will have a short documentary. I will remind everyone about WorldStar. You know, we still have 1 month to go. So I really encourage everyone to take this chance and not to miss it, because it's your global opportunity to shine on the global stage of WPO. And as you know, year after year, our ceremony is getting more and more prestigious. So I will start with this, with my presentation, and it's a kind of, sorry. So just to remind everyone, what is WorldStar? WorldStar is the Global Packaging Award organized by the WPO since 1970. I will share with you this this documentary that we have organized. Here you can see a picture of our ceremony in Bangkok. It was really magical. And you know that WorldStar is only for the best of the best, because only winners of approved national or regional packaging competition are allowed to apply. Here you can see who can participate. Really, everyone can participate as long as you are a winner of a national or a regional competition recognized by the WPO. And we have a list of all approved competition on WorldStar website. So really take the chance and promote your packaging innovation on a global level. And I'm happy to tell you that next year, our award ceremony will take place during IPAC EMA in Milan. Here are our category. I will go over them also in a while. And we have our judging criteria. We have also the Lifetime Achievement Award and the Student WorldStar Award. And as you know, we have a very important international panel of justice. So really, I encourage everyone to apply now. We still have 1 month to go, and WorldStar team is here to support you in this application process, or if you face any kind of technical support. So WorldStar has been running since 1970. It's older than me, actually, WorldStar. So now we have the 56th edition. It's really the most important global competition because, as I said, only winners are allowed to apply. So it's really recognizing the best of the best packaging innovation from around the world. So now we are launching the WorldStar 2025, and last year was a 56th edition. We received 435 entries from 41 countries. Really, every year we are happy with the exposure of WorldStar and to see more and more entries from around the world. And we have around 200 winners who have been recognized in Bangkok. Now people like the top 5. This is for 2024. And now in January, we will be revealing the winner for 2025. We still have Japan, number 1, 28 awards from Japan, top 1, top 2, Germany, and top 3 is Australia and New Zealand. And we have with us today Narida from this region. And I really take the opportunity to thank her for promoting WorldStar in her region. And we rely on our WPO member to promote and to encourage the winners to apply to WorldStar. Top 4 was USA, and top 5 was shared between Austria and Brazil. As you can see, really, WorldStar is a kind of badge of honor on the chest of the winners, because here they are representing their countries on the global stage of WorldStar. Every year also we do a trend report that is prepared by our colleague, our communication officer, William. I also encourage you to check this trends report. It's on the WPO website. You can even download it for free. And you can see here the trends that are really present in most of our winners. And the flagship is the sustainability and the recycling content, and for sure other things, but really let's say that sustainability is still number one trend. It's not even a trend anymore, it's a must. Now for WorldStar categories, these are our categories. We still have this other that we don't like it a lot, but really if you think that none of your entry fit to our winner, to our category, you can apply here. But really each year we are keen on introducing a new category, like the pet product one was introduced recently, the toys, the gift packaging, the digital packaging, they were introduced recently in addition to the other food, the non-alcoholic, alcoholic beverage, personal care. So we, if you have any hesitation, and sometimes we have a WorldStar team, I receive a lot of questions. People, they don't know which category to apply for. We are here for you to support you in this one. These are the judging criteria. So we focus on a holistic approach to evaluate your entries. For sure, the important role of packaging is the protection and the preservation of content, sustainability, the sales appeal, the marketing aspect, the feasibility aspect. Is it really feasible to apply it? Cost of reduction, ease of handling is very important in the supply chain. But for sure, we only accept entries or products that they are already in the market, and we focus on the ergonomics, the creativity, and other aspects. And today we are focusing on one important special category. It's packaging that saves food, and Nerida will dwell more into this aspect. And we have three other important special categories: sustainability, marketing, and accessible packaging. So all these are really the prestigious special category. Only the winners of WorldStar will be shortlisted to these special category, and they will go into another round of judging by the WPO working group, and the winners are only announced during the award ceremony. Nerida today will discuss the criteria of the packaging that save the food, and we have the criteria of the marketing and the sustainability. I will not go into the detail. They are all available on our website. And yes, these categories require more narrative from you. We have a question for you that you need to answer them in the online application form. Our judges, they come from around the world. Last year, we had 45 judges from 45 WPO countries. I know it's tough because it's not easy to evaluate winners. So these people, they are already stars in their country or region, and now we are assessing them to be really the WorldStar. So we really take the opportunity to thank our esteemed judging from around the world. How to apply? We only accept online application direct to our website. We don't accept entries by email. I always say it, I keep on having them, and I told them, go to our website. It's really straightforward. You have to create an account, apply online. I always give a tip, really, you will be judged only based on the picture and the concept note. So really always upload very high and clear picture from a different dimension, because this is what your judges will be seeing. And for sure, be precise, direct to the point, and the narrative part. And then the last part is the payment process. Again, we are here for you if you have any encounter, any technical problem. So this is my presentation. And as I said, don't hesitate to contact us. I will now give the floor to Nerida, our VP, to talk more about how packaging can save food, and to encourage you more to apply to our important special category for packaging that save food. Nerida, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Soha, and I just want to confirm that you can see my slides. Perfect. So I just very briefly, just to reiterate what Soha said, firstly, thank you so much for coming. This is such an important topic, and a topic that we really need more people around the world elevating. And we can do this through our fantastic network within the World Packaging Organization. And we have 63 member countries now around the world with a fantastic mix of packaging associations and organizations that work together on elevating conversations like we're having today. And so one of the things that's really important is to help everybody understand the severity and the importance of what's happening right now around the world with food loss and waste, and particularly through the lens of sustainability. And just to put it in perspective, when we look at the recent 2024 UNEP report, which I really encourage you to download and have a look at, on one hand, we have 800 million people around the world that are starving, that have food insecurity and are malnourished. But on the other hand, we have over 1 billion tons of food that's wasted and ends up in landfill. And UNEP decided to aggregate the percentages, and they worked out that if we could move the food that's being wasted, that 1 billion tons of food, we could give 1.3 meals to the 800 million every single day. And so when you put it in perspective, the guilty parties for most of the food on an aggregated level are us in our households. And so around the world, 60% of all food wasted comes from you and I in our household. And when we talk about environmental impacts and we talk about sustainability reporting, we all too often forget about the environmental impacts that are caused through methane, through greenhouse gas emissions in food waste, and particularly when it goes to landfill. And when you look at food waste, if it was a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter around the world. But we don't talk about it enough, and we certainly don't talk about it globally enough. When you look at how many countries around the world are in fact measuring food loss and waste, there's not that many. And so we need to see more governments around the world measuring, developing strategies, measuring and intervening on food loss and waste, and really looking at where they are losing their food. Is it in the food loss area or is it in food waste? And how can they improve that and lower the amount of food that's particularly going to landfill? And then from a packaging perspective, one of the challenging areas is that you have to understand how to design your packaging for the country or region that it's sold in. And so when you're looking at food and beverage packaging, you also need to understand where the food is lost or wasted. And so when you look at the world, the light blue parts of the world is in household and in consumption in homes. And that's particularly in areas that are developed countries. So like Australia, we're very guilty of having very high waste in our households. But then when you look at the navy, that's food loss. And that's particularly in countries and regions in production. And then obviously in the yellow, that's very much around handling and storage. And if you know that when you're designing your packaging, you can design your packaging to minimize these losses and waste areas across their value chain. And so one thing that's really important to bring this all together is sitting under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And when we talk about the SDGs, as we call them, we're always looking at 12.3 predominantly. And that's about halving food waste per person around the world. And we need to do this by 2030. And when you are looking at your sustainability reporting, your ESG reporting, and you're talking around sustainability and scope 1, 2, 3, you also need to look at, if you are working in food and beverage, your food loss and waste areas and measuring them as a part of your reporting process. And so this is where we encourage you to really deep dive into the SDGs and to implement them and embed them in your business. And then when we start to talk about safe food packaging, and this is that special award category that Soha and I love so much, because it is so important that we elevate the discussion, but we also recognize and acknowledge best practice around the world, because there are so many companies around the world that are doing fantastic work in this space. Well, when we're talking about sustainability and we're talking about guidelines and design principles for sustainability, safe food packaging fits in this. And it fits in this specifically in areas like product waste. So designing to reduce product waste and making sure that you don't have the waste as well at the end of in the households. And also design for accessibility, which is another special award category that is new to the WorldStar Awards, but is so important when we're talking about food packaging. But we need to take a step back, because sometimes people forget that packaging has a role to play, a fundamental role to play. And packaging is very similar to a car. And if you think about a car and you as a human, as a passenger, and then you also look at your packaging, packaging is a vessel. Packaging is designed to contain and protect and preserve and transport a product all the way through a value chain. We need to make sure that we're keeping the waste, the product waste at a minimum, that it can withstand all the rigors of transport and logistics and distribution. But we also have to make sure that it offers the lowest environmental impact and is as sustainable as possible. But when we talk about safe food packaging, this is the little bit of a twist, because we want our packaging to do all of those things, but we want it to be a little bit smarter, and we want it to be more intuitive and more innovative so that we can open it more easily, we can hold it more easily, we can reseal it, that it can be freezer ready, that it can incorporate portion control and be designed so we have limited amounts of product waste. And there are so many important aspects to safe food packaging that if we design our packaging within these principles, we can reduce food loss and waste across our value chain. And from a packaging perspective and from a designer's perspective, it's very hard at the moment. It's very hard because we have to find what we call the sweet spot, which is optimum pack design. Because no packaging designer around the world wants to waste food, and no packaging designer wants to waste packaging materials. But we also have to get the conversation right, and we also have to get the balance right, because at the moment, the conversation is very heavily focused on packaging waste, but we're also forgetting the environmental impacts of food waste, and we're also not looking at food and beverage packaging design from an environmental impact from the food waste side. And so we encourage everybody to elevate that discussion and to help us to get the messaging right, to help us support the narrative of getting that balance right so that we have a evidence-based, science-based, life cycle assessment-based decision-making process to ensure that our packaging is fit for purpose and functional first, and that it offers the lowest environmental impact. And so I touched on how important in design principles for sustainability, product waste and accessibility are. And they really are some amazing opportunities for you within your design to be able to minimize your food loss and waste across your value chain. And so we are really proud of the fact that there are now safe food packaging design guidelines available for everybody to access. And I would encourage you to download the resource booklet and to have a look at the 5 guiding principles, which I'll talk through with you now. And if you can design your packaging this way, you will have some very good opportunities to win country awards and also the special Safe Food Packaging Award, because this is what we're looking for in our criteria. We want the packaging to be able to design and contain a product. We want it to be able to preserve and extend shelf life, provide consumer convenience, communicate to consumers, and to get that balance right between food waste and packaging waste. But when we talk about the first principle of containing and protecting a product, what we're talking about is not only spoilage and damage, but from manufacturing all the way through your warehousing, your facilities, and all stages of distribution. And so when you're designing your packaging, we're asking you to look at not only your primary packaging, but your secondary and tertiary packaging as well. And this is looking at and testing and trialing how your product gets transported, and is there any damage at any point of your value chain? And if there is, why is there damage? And can you fix or redesign your packaging or improve your packaging so there isn't any damage? And this can be everything from palletization to load utilization. Also looking at things like shocks and vibrations and the way that your product is transported, whether it's air, road, rail, sea, and understanding how it transports all the way through. And if there's damage, where is it, why it happens, and can a design element be improved so that you don't have that? The second one is so important, and this is one that we see a lot of really fantastic examples in WorldStar, because within the Safe Food Packaging Design Award, extension of shelf life and preservation tends to be one of the #1 design principles that everyone uses when they're entering the awards. And obviously we want all of our packaging to not only preserve a product, maintain integrity and flavor, but also extend the shelf life. And particularly, and I use the example of my country, where we export a significant amount of very expensive premium produce and very expensive premium meat. And we want to make sure that whatever packaging is selected for that product can extend that shelf life as long as possible so that it gets to that export market in the best possible quality. And so when we look at these guiding principles, we encourage you to really look at things like active and intelligent packaging. Can you incorporate that into your design process? Can you look at incorporating 2D and QR codes, time temperature indicators, and understanding whether you can move some of your packaging to, for example, within meat, skin and vacuum packaging or modified atmosphere packaging, because it does provide extension of shelf life, barrier protection, and is an incredible material and solution for some of these products. But also looking at the way that, for example, produce is, and whether you can redesign your packaging to have improved respiration rates or to protect against oxygen or moisture barriers. And there are just so many opportunities and so many solutions available around the world in this area, particularly in active and intelligent packaging, that you could build into your design. And then obviously the next one is providing consumer convenience. And this is about not wasting food in the household, but also teaching consumers how to not waste the food. And all too often, it's not that we want to waste food in our household. There are many reasons why we waste food, but sometimes it's about knowledge. And sometimes it's about understanding whether you can reseal a pack, whether you can freeze a pack, whether it's microwavable, whether it's has controlled dispensing, and also looking at your design features. Is it easy to open? Is it easy to reclose? And are the reclose features good enough and at a high quality that it can preserve and extend shelf life? Is it easily openable and accessible? So can you tear it? Can you grip it? And again, we really encourage you to look at these design features because they make such a difference to all of us as consumers when we're in our household. And then understanding how to communicate all of these points to consumers and how to handle and store and prepare and reuse the food. And one of the areas that we really encourage everybody to start with is looking at date labeling and looking at the differences between best before dates and use by dates, and seeing if there's an opportunity to incorporate some of the intelligent packaging systems that are available now that could potentially trigger and intervene and alert a consumer in their household if a date's about to come, and encouraging them by alerting them to make sure that they use that food teaching them recipe ideas, takeaway ideas, storage ideas, teaching people through intelligent packaging that something is freezer ready and how long you should put it in a freezer and how long it should stay in that freezer. And there's, again, really good innovations and design systems available that can do all of this for you. And then about getting the balance right, it really is critical that we get that balance right and make sure that we have a very equal conversation about packaging waste and food waste in the same voice, and making sure that under all of our ESG principles and sustainability principles, that if you do work in food waste and in food and beverage packaging, that you are measuring what you have, measuring the losses and waste in your business and trying to intervene. And design through packaging is just one area that can potentially minimize the food loss and waste. And so this leads me to showing you, well, what does it really look like? And we are really proud of the fact that we have a fantastic WorldStar Award website that's available for you. And there are about 10 years of examples across all of the categories that Soham mentioned. And packaging that saves food is probably about 7 or 8 years old now. It's one of the newer categories. But we do need to start to recognize best practice, and we do need to recognize the companies that are working in this space. And so I encourage you to go on to the WorldStar website and have a look and deep dive into some of these examples. But I just wanted to touch on a few to really encourage you not only to design, if you are a brand or a packaging designer, to really stop and look at the way you design your packaging for food and beverage and make some of these changes and use these guidelines. But then also for the companies that are doing really good work, are you entering your country awards program? Are you entering the WorldStar Awards? And if not, why not? For those who are WPO Association members that are here today, do you have a Safe Food Packaging Award category in your country program? And if not, why not? And, you know, Sohar and I are here to help you and support you to be able to really help you to get this category into your awards program. And so this is our 2024 winner of the Packaging That Saves Food Award category, and it came out of Spain. And it's actually a solution developed by Smurfit Kappa, and it's called AgroLife. And AgroLife is a treatment that's applied to the paper-based agricultural packaging. So it's ideally suited for things like corrugate boxes, punnets and trays. It's 100% food contact friendly. It's also recyclable. It doesn't affect recyclability. But the most important aspect of AgroLife treatment is that it extends shelf life and preserves fresh produce. And it makes sure that it reduces the losses caused by excess maturation. And it acts like via the absorption of the ethylene through the produce, which can delay the ripening process. And that's what we want. It's that extension of shelf life. And it's just a fantastic solution that I'd encourage you to have a look at. And then some other examples that have come out over the last couple of years. We have one from Amcor in Chile, which is called Copper Protec, and it was actually a solution developed by a company called Copper Protec. And it builds copper microparticles that inhibit the development of microorganisms. And so it is ideally suited for hams and bacons and fresh chickens, and this solution preserves and extends shelf life but also protects the product. And through all of the testing and trials that they have undertaken, they believe that it extends shelf life by up to 250%. So it's just a phenomenal solution. We have a case study that's available on the website, a very detailed one that will go into all of the detail of this solution. And then if we come into my region, we're talking about things like thermochromic dye technologies and ThermoShield temperature monitoring systems. And basically what this is a very intuitive solution that can visually alert and trigger intervention points if the temperature changes in a cold chain environment. And so if you're thinking about a very expensive product and you can't visually see through your cold chain, you need a system to be able to alert you, but you also need the visual aids. And if you think about visual aids like thermochromic ink technologies, they're also fantastic for consumers in the household as well. But this one is ideally suited for tracking on cold chain environments, and the color parameters are set by the brand, so they can set when it changes and be alerted to that. And it determines if the temperature rises above those set parameters. And then we pop into the Netherlands, and this is a modified atmosphere technology. And the main difference for this and why it won one of the awards is that this is designed for very large bulk containers. And so again, it has sensor spot technology, which measures oxygen and humidity rates, extends the shelf life of the product, but it's fantastic for shipping efficiencies, transport efficiencies, and optimizes storage as well. And then we pop into things like exporting premium meat, and we look at solutions like this one. And this is a fantastic solution of something that was causing about 40% food waste. And the company wasn't getting this particular very expensive premium product to their export market, and they were losing 40% of it through damage. And the reason that it was being damaged was the previous packaging that they had, the bones of the meat were splitting and tearing through the packaging material. And so they worked with their supplier to come up with a customized solution called bone-in guard. And the bone-in guard protects the bones. The material protects the bone so it doesn't split and tear through the pack. And so this is a fantastic example of simply working with a packaging supplier, coming up with an alternate customized solution, and being able to reduce that 40% of food waste that they were seeing. And it is puncture proof and tear proof and abrasion resistant, and it ultimately extends and preserves and protects that product all the way through to the export market. And then if we go into Switzerland, this is a fantastic example about that balance. So making sure that something is sustainable and recyclable, but also that it's easy to open, easy to close, that it has really intuitive resealable features, and that it can be stacked and transported and protects the product all the way through the value chain. And it's just a great solution for fresh produce. And then this is a really fantastic example from Kenya. And this is a project that our WPO board member in Kenya undertook. And they wanted to understand the amount of food that they were losing in the growing of maize in a particular town. And they were also trying to see how much they were wasting and losing through storage and distribution. And one of the challenging areas that they found, there was two things. They found that they were losing a significant amount of their food because they couldn't afford drying sheets. And so they were relying on the sun, and they still are relying on the sun to dry it. And obviously, if it rains and they don't have drying sheets and they don't have anything to protect it, they're going to lose some of that food. So that was number one. But the second area that they found was within the storage, and they obviously store this for quite a few months for the community to be able to access. And affordability and accessibility for hermetically sealed bags is a real challenge in a lot of African countries. And so they realized that the bags were a very high cause of food waste. And so they wanted to be able to move to something more affordable, but hermetically sealed, so that it could protect from infestation and insects and all of the things that happen through storage. One of the challenges that we have within a lot of the developing countries, though, is making sure that we can provide something like this with accessibility and affordability. And so it is something that the WPO continues to work on, and we encourage all of the governments around the world to support and fund accessibility and affordability for simple solutions like hermetically sealed bags. And then you have examples like this one, and this is very much again around saving the grain and protecting it and preserving it. And it has some fantastic active packaging features to preserve the product, to minimize oxidation, preserve the aroma. And to some countries, these are very simple solutions, but to other countries, these are very expensive solutions. And so we need a more equal playing field around the world to be able to protect food and make sure that we're not wasting it unnecessarily. And then we have solutions like this, which is very much around active packaging, and it's about extending the shelf life of cucumbers. It's also very much around consumer convenience and portion control and making it easy for people to access it, but making sure that those cucumbers have the longest shelf life possible. And they do that through a specific solution, which is called Breathe Away. And it's a Breathe Away modified atmosphere packaging. And again, this is not a solution for every country around the world, but it certainly does have some fantastic opportunities in some countries around the world. And then we have really cool examples like this one. You can see that we have a light green triangular perforated feature on the bottom of this crisps or chips packet, depending on where you are in the world. And this is around when you eat chips, most of us are very guilty that we get the bag and we tip it upside down to make sure we get all the crumbs and all the chips at the bottom of the packet. And this is a fun feature to make sure that consumers get all the chips out of the pack and not waste any of the food. And then some of the areas that the World Packaging Organization have been working on and we're really proud of is we work very closely with Messe Düsseldorf, who are the coordinators and owners of Interpack, which is the largest packaging trade show in the world. We work with UNIDO and we work with FAO, and we have this fantastic collaboration to support the Safe Food Initiative. And this is a project competition that's available for Save Food Org members around the world. And it offers a project or a program the opportunity to apply for a grant of 10,000 euros every single year. And if you are not familiar with Save Food Org and you're not familiar with this competition, please have a look at their website. You might miss the opportunity for this year, but you could become a member and come up with an amazing program or project like the one in Kenya, for example, and apply for this competition next year. We would really love to see more and more opportunities entering into this so we can support them. And just to give you an idea of the winners, the winner of the Safe Food Project competition this year came from Egypt. And this is a fantastic program that is working in collaboration with the communities. It teaches them how to not plow their food back into field, how to create nutritional meals, how to teach the children to be a part of this and the village to be a part of this, and to put it into aseptic cartons so that they can extend the shelf life and use this as food for the village. We also work with Safe Food Org on two amazing design awards programs. One is for China and one is for the Middle East and Africa. And again, we welcome you to join us and to enter these awards through these programs. Some of the examples are available on the Safe Food Org website. And again, there is an opportunity in 2024 for you to be able to enter both the one in Middle East and Africa and then also the one in Egypt. And then, as I mentioned, we have some amazing resources and booklets that are available for you to access for free and download and start to implement into your own business. Again, we would encourage you to use these so that you can design better packaging and then enter the regional, country, and obviously global awards programs. And we have case studies of all of our winners, and we're starting to build an amazing library of case studies, again, free of charge and all available on the WPO website. And we've also worked with UNIDO and Wageningen University to come up with a position paper that will be launched in October. And again, this is an opportunity to be able to share some of these amazing WorldStar examples in our position paper and to help guide people on what best practice and what good packaging looks like. And lastly, I leave you with, on the 29th of September, every year, we have the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. It has been developed by FAO. It's supported by UNIDO, Safe Food Org, WPO, and many other organizations around the world. I ask you to support this personally on the 29th of September and look at what you can do to lower your environmental impact and to look at your carbon footprint with your food waste and try and not eat as much, not buy as much, and try and preserve as much food as you can. And talk about the balance and make sure that we get this balance right and make sure that we talk on the same point of view for packaging waste and food waste. And I thank you for the opportunity. Sohar and I really look forward to seeing more and more entries in Safe Food every single year. We are here to help support you, to help you to develop these categories, to support your entries, and to have more case studies that we can showcase from around the world. So thank you, and back to you, Sohar.
Thank you, Narida, for this interesting presentation. And really, it's sometimes we forget what the WPO are doing with our partners. So because we are in it, we are all in this bubble. So it's good that you are reminding us of the really milestone that we are doing. And I take the opportunity really to thank Narida for her commitment to this cause, because she's the one leading several front and project with our partner, mainly with UNIDO. And yes, we have a conference tackling this issue in October. And in this opportunity, I would like to also salute our colleagues from UNIDO from Cambodia. I can see David and other people. So thank you for joining our webinar today. And hello as well to our other WPO members, Zippy, Suzanne, and many other colleagues. So we have around 15 minutes for question and answers. I didn't see yet any question and answer, so I encourage you to ask some question to Narida. And in the meantime, I will be asking as a trigger for question to Narida. So for the application of WorldStar, I noticed, Narida, that some people confuse between the special category awards for sustainability and for saving food, because they think that if they are saving food and avoiding loss, then they are sustainable. So how can you really explain in your way the difference between these two and really encourage more to apply to this entry? Because fortunately and unfortunately, because we are also happy with the entry to the sustainability, but we are seeing a lot of people being directed only to this category and ignoring this category.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think a lot of us from a country awards program have the same challenge. So sustainability is that's the coveted award. Everybody wants to enter sustainability. And that's very much around the social and the environmental and the material and the recyclability. It's very much focused on that and optimizing material efficiencies and resource recovery. And yes, there is an aspect of food in it, but the safe food packaging is different. It's what we've talked about today. It's about companies that design food and beverage packaging and intentionally design it to protect and contain and preserve and transport and extend shelf life, and are looking at where they lose their food loss and waste across their value chain and designing better packaging so that it's easy to open and it's accessible and resealable. And that's very different from the sustainability category. One of the challenges is, for anyone that's listening that does enter the awards every year, is that you enter the food category, but you forget to enter the safe food category. And so we would encourage you that if you're entering beverage and you're entering food and you know that your design is accessible and openable and resealable and extends shelf life, make sure that you enter the safe food as well. And the safe food is, we want it to be equal to the sustainability. We want to see more entries in it because it can contribute so much to minimizing food loss and waste. It's such an important design feature.
I agree. So I really hope that this year we will be having more entry to this important category. And as you said, really, it's a good point. We can really encourage everyone who is applying to food and beverage to apply as well. I know that you have to answer some questions, but really these questions are important because it's a very important category, and it's really above the normal WorldStar winner. That's why we have only limited number of special award category. So any question?
Yes, there are. There's 2 in there, and I can see we have 40 people in the Nairobi
Yes.
training as well.
So I want to salute Vanessa from South Africa. So we have an anonymous attendee who's raising your presentation, and he's asking you, do you think there's enough education of the consumer on food and packaging waste? What part can they play in preventing minimizing waste and also the correct disposable of packaging? To you, Naila.
Fantastic questions. No, I do not think there is enough education for consumers. No, there is not. And this is something that we continually encourage the governments to find some funding and to support better consumer education. There is research around the world that has proven that if your country elevates the conversation around the difference between a use by date and a best before date in consumers, that you can actually reduce food waste. And so consumer education from not only a government perspective, higher education, school programs, kindergartens, all the way down to the young children, we need better consumer education. We also need better communication with consumers on why we have packaging. So this whole conversation that I'm having today, why do we wrap a cucumber with film, with soft plastics? We wrap that cucumber because we need to protect it so that, and preserve it and transport it and extend the shelf life by 2 weeks. If we take that film off, then you're going to have a soggy cucumber that won't look good in your gin. And so we have to, as an industry, take some responsibility to help support that education, because we're all consumers, so encouraging SOHA people to buy smaller portions, freezer ready packaging, encouraging consumers to stop and look at the packaging on shelf and say, I want to buy that one because it has a tear function, it's more accessible, it reseals. So it's us thinking about why we're buying the packaging that we buy. The second part of that question about correct disposal, that's the balance. And that's the hardest challenge, because sometimes soft plastics and films and sometimes plastic is the better solution right now for fit for purpose and functional packaging for food. We have to make sure that whatever packaging we put around the food can be recyclable. We make sure that it's recyclable. If it can't be recyclable, as long as it's protecting the product and extending the shelf life, then we have to wait, unfortunately, for new technologies and new solutions to be available, or new facilities. It is the hardest thing to do, is to be able to balance sustainability and also the food waste. The challenge that we have, and we often forget, that if we don't have good packaging, if we don't have fit for purpose and functional packaging, the unintended consequence is you're going to waste food, and the environmental impact is higher if we do that, and it's very hard.
I fully agree. It's a challenge. That's why we always have to remember this slide that you have put about optimum packaging, to always go between, to avoid under packaging and to avoid over packaging. We are not saying that it's easy to do. It's a challenge. And that's why we always say that packaging is a science, technology, and art, marketing. And that's why, yes, most of the marketing now and the social media are focusing on the picture of packaging waste and mainly plastic. There's a massive campaign against plastic. But on the other side of the story, there's a lot of hunger. And we all know She gave now the example of cucumber, but we have a lot of examples also like the juices, the milk, and everything, the dairy product. That really sometimes people, when they tell me we want to go with zero plastic, this is not scientific, because as Narida said, plastic has its barrier, it has its function to extend the shelf life and to avoid food waste. So really, I think, and also I thank Suzanne for her question from Ivory Coast. And she's asking how the WPO can address the issue of consumer education and awareness about safe food and reducing food waste. I will answer her, and then I will give you the floor, Nerida. As you know, Nerida and Susan, and I'm happy that you will be one of the hosts of WPO training soon. WPO is really one of our key thematic approach is education. For sure, as you know, we are an NGO, so we cannot educate the world, but slowly, we are educating the packaging professional throughout the training that we are doing. And I take the opportunity to thank our WPO Vice President, Kofi Usman from Ghana, who is really reading well on this portfolio and doing his best to promote our WPO training. Another part of training is the webinar that you are doing. Really, I will tell you, preparing for this webinar takes a lot of time from us. And as you know, we are a pro bono company, and that's why really we are keen on doing this webinar so we can reach more and more people around the world. And thankfully, we have a lot of partners with us. UNIDO is with us now, and we're gonna launch this concept paper, a strategic paper that Narida discussed. And we as WPO, we are proud of the recycling packaging guide that is also available free of charge on our website, and so far 14 languages. And this, right? So we are proud that 14 languages and more to come. And this is also a way to increase the awareness around the world. And WorldStar, the Global Packaging Award, is also a way to promote the packaging innovation in all the field and to raise the voice of packaging. So do you want to add something, Narida, before asking?
I do. I think that it's important when we develop the Safe Food Packaging Design Guidelines, the resource booklet. An additional part of the research that we undertook here in Australia was we created a Safe Food Packaging Design training course. And so anyone that wants to work through myself, we make that available for you. We can train you in safe food packaging design. We have undertaken webinars and seminars and workshops in Hungary, and we've undertaken one in Czech Republic. We've also created some support for Thailand and Indonesia and the Philippines, and we will continue to do that. So Suzanne, if you are interested in that, we are here to support you. We have that training course already written and available, and we have some fantastic best practice examples from all over the world to be able to show you. And what you saw today was just a small example of what safe food packaging really looks like.
Thank you, Narida. And we will go to our final question because we have to conclude, unfortunately, our webinar today. So it's from Solomon from Ghana. He's saying, do you think packaging should only focus on the final product? In West Africa, especially in most of our food waste are directly from the farms. There are about 60% of post-harvest lost in the country. How can we use packaging to reduce food waste in farms and Ghana?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Solomon, and it goes to that slide that I showed at the start where we were looking at the whether it's food loss or food waste developed countries versus developing countries. And if you looked at the different continents, some were in production and then some were in household. And so when we look at countries in Africa, we would be looking at what can we do to intervene to support your farms and the rural and agricultural areas. And that is, for example, accessing dry sheets, making sure that you have hermetically sealed bags, teaching the farmers not to plow it back into field. One of the important areas is to teach farmers to valorize a product. So take it from being plowed back into field and give you the opportunity to commercialize that. And it could be something that you haven't even considered, that we can help you to think about, where you could take a banana and maybe possibly make it into a nutraceutical paste or a vitamin or something, and then teach you how to work with packaging suppliers to create the packaging that's suitable, and then take it into an opportunity that could be potentially revenue. It's also the example from Egypt, which is that Save Food Project initiative, teaching the agricultural industry how to take food that's plowed back into field and make nutritional meals out of it, and how to have really amazing packaging that can extend the shelf life to be able to feed the village. So I think there's fantastic opportunities there. And again, the WPO is here to help you and support you, and to work with other members from the African Packaging Federation, and come up with some amazing solutions for you. So we're always here to help support you.
Thank you, Narida. And I think we have to conclude our webinar. We promise you that we will keep up with more webinar and more interesting topic. And by the way, you can suggest to us a topic that you would like us to focus on in our future webinar. I want also to remind you that we still have less than 1 month for the deadline for WorldStar. So really, it's time to finalize your entry, prepare it, and submit before 15 October. And we really look forward to see more entries into the Save the Food category, and for more countries as well that they were not participating more. We want to see more from Africa, from Cambodia as well. Happy again with our friends from Cambodia. I had the privilege to visit your beautiful country, and also to tackle this aspect because they have the fish industry, and to see how also packaging can extend the shelf life, and for them later on to be able to export their delicious fish. So I thank you all. I thank you, Narida, for your insightful presentation and for all what you are doing for this cause. And we always say together we can make things better and we can achieve more. So really, I invite all our WPO members to keep close with us, to give us your suggestion so we can do more great things. So thank you. Also, I want to thank Fiona from the WPO Secretariat who supported us in making this webinar happen as well. So have a nice day, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.